world were brought in front of me, and specifically I was given 2 bracelets made from gold. And these 2 bracelets, they were very heavy upon my hands. So Allah said to me that blow on these 2 bracelets or these 2 bangles, and when I blew on them in my dream, both of them disappeared. So the Prophet ﷺ says, mentioned in Bukhari, that I am interpreting this dream to mean that the 2 bracelets are referring to the 2 liars who will claim prophethood after my prophethood. And the first one, he says, is the ruler of Yamama, and the second one, he says, is the ruler of Yemen. The ruler of Yemen, his name was Aswad Anasi, and the ruler of Yamama was Musaylama al-Kadhab. Kadhab means the great liar, and the word Kadhib means a liar. Kadhab is known as, in the Arabic language, Ism Mubalagha, that noun which shows emphasis. So if you want to say that he is, for example, an eater, a person who likes eating, you will say akilun, he eats. But then when you put the tashdid and the shadda in the middle and you say akalun, it means he excessively eats. He's always eating, he has nothing else to do. When you say daribun, it means the one who hits. When you say darrabun, it means the one who constantly hits. All he knows what to do is hitting. That's all he does. So when you say kadhibun, it means a liar. But when you say kadhabun, it means that he's always lying. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala humiliated Musaylama Kadhab to the degree that up until today, 1400 years later, we know him as Musaylama Kadhab, the great liar. Not only a liar, the great liar. Now, who's this man, Musaylama Kadhab? He's from the tribe of Banu Hanifa. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, in the 9th year of Hijri, so roughly about a year before the Prophet ﷺ passed away, he came with a group of people to accept Islam. And even previously, before he accepted Islam, he was known as a person who used to deceive others and constantly lie, and he was very good at convincing people, and he was very good at treachery, and he was very good at getting his message across and getting his message through others. So Musaylama Kadhab, he always had this urge and this desire for power and leadership, which was not facilitated for him. So he thought of a plan to himself, and he said that, well, I see that Muhammad has so many followers, let me also claim to be a prophet. So after when he came to accept Islam at the hands of the Prophet ﷺ, the Prophet ﷺ was informed by Allah in regards to him that this is the man that you probably saw in your dream, that you know of. So the Prophet ﷺ said to him that لَنْ أَتَعَدَّى أَمْرُ اللَّهِ فِيكَ. In the letters also he said to him that the decree of Allah, I will not be able to surpass the decree of Allah. In other words, Allah has decided a certain death for you at a certain place, and I know of your future, but I will not be able to exceed the decree of Allah. So Musaylama Kadhab, when he accepted Islam and he went back to Yamama, the place where he was from, the city where he was from, he said to the people, and he gathered a large crowd, that I am a prophet, and this is something new that he was saying. I am also a prophet, just like how Muhammad is a prophet. Just like how Quran is being revealed to Muhammad, the Quran is also being revealed to me, right? So now the enemies of Islam, those who wished bad for Islam, and those people who had some sort of inclination towards power and they wanted to go against the Muslims, they all became allies. And that slowly eventually led to the battle of Yamama, which took place after the Prophet ﷺ passed away, and it took place at the time of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And he was killed in that battle. And before that, the amount of crimes that he committed and the amount of innocent lives that he had taken are unimaginable. Now, since he has now gathered a large crowd and he has quite a few numbers of the followers, even at the Battle of Yamama, his army was roughly about 40,000 and the Muslims were about 12 to 13,000. His army was well equipped, the Muslim army was not well equipped. To the extent that two other Sahabis in that battle, they tried to defeat him, but Musaylama Kadhab's army were able to inflict a large amount of suffering and a tragedy and a loss to the Muslims. Then Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu appointed Khalid ibn Walid, the sword of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Khalid ibn Walid radiallahu anhu was able to use his military strategies and his military expertise to get rid of Musaylama al-Kadhab. Now, he wrote to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that from Musaylama, the Prophet of Allah, to Muhammad, also the Prophet of Allah, I have been given a share in this matter. In other words, I have been also given a share in this Islam of yours, O Muhammad. So this was when he went back and he wrote to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, half of the land belongs to you, half of the land belongs to me. And he said that, and he wrote that, he sealed it, sent it to the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ wrote back, Innal arda lillah, the verse of the Quran, that the land belongs to Allah. It's not my land to claim. Yurithuha man yasha'u min ibadi. Allah gives this land to whomever He wills. Sometimes you see that the Muslims are victorious, but then sometimes you see that the non-Muslims are victorious. So the land belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَنْ أَتَعَدَّى أَمْرُ اللَّهِ فِيكَ, but I will not exceed the order and the command of Allah when it comes to you. Now, like I mentioned, he claimed that the Quran was also being revealed to him, right? First and foremost, we all know that when the prophets were sent, they were sent according to the expertise of that time. So for example, at the time of Prophet Isa alayhi salam, medicine was a bit advanced. So Allah Ta'ala had given him the ability through miracles that he was able to revive the dead, right? We all know that. And at the time of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, magic was something which was considered to be a great thing. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him the staff, which then turned into a snake, and the shining hand, and etc. We all know that. At the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, eloquency in the Arabic language and not being an illiterate person, being a learned person, this was regarded, a person was regarded to a high esteem. So that is why when the Quran was revealed, they weren't able to produce even a single verse similar to the verse of the Quran. So Allah challenged them. Allah Ta'ala said, لَإِنِ اجْتَمَعَتِ الْإِنسُ وَالْجِنُّ عَلَىٰ أَن يَأْتُوا بِمِثْلِ هَذَا الْقُرْآنِ. That, oh people, listen up. If all the jinns and all the human beings were to gather to produce a book similar to the Quran, they will not be able to do so. When they weren't able to produce something similar to the Quran, Allah came down and He said, produce بِعَشْرِ سُوَرٍ مِثْلِ, at least 10 surahs. You claim that you are intellectual people, then produce at least 10 surahs. They weren't able to do so. Allah then said, فَأْتُوا بِسُورَةٍ, that if not 10 surahs, at least 1 surah. And they weren't even able to produce a single ayah, a single sentence similar to the Quran. Now, we need to understand one point. They used to superficially copy the dialect and the rhythm and the rhyming of the Quran. And then they used to say that this is from us. So he tried doing so. Musaylam al-Kadhab tried to do so. And I will share with you some of the examples. Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu, before he became a Muslim, before he accepted Islam, he went to Musaylama al-Kadhab. And Musaylama al-Kadhab said to him, ماذا أنزل على صاحبكم في هذه المدة? What is nowadays being revealed to your companion in Medina? In other words, the Prophet ﷺ in Mecca. What is being revealed to him nowadays? He said, from what I heard, Amr is not a Muslim at that time, just remember that. He said, from what I heard, Surah Al-Asr was revealed to him. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ وَتَوَاصَى بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَى بِالصَّبْرِ. This surah is revealed to him. So Musaylama thought for a few moments, he was quiet. Then he said, "O Amr, do you know Allah has also revealed a surah similar to this to me also?" So Amr ibn al-As is now shocked, right? That no one in the Arabian Peninsula is able to produce a surah similar to Surah Al-Asr. Now let me hear what you have to say, O Musaylama. So Musaylama again started to think to himself, and the idea came to his mind that in the Quran Allah has spoken about multiple animals. There's so many animals with their qualities and their benefits that are mentioned inside the Quran. So he said, Ya wabar, innama anta udhunani wa sadr, and he made something up, which means that, O mammal. Mammal is a small animal. O mammal, you have a chest, and you have 2 ears, and you dig, and this is the quality that you have. Amr ibn al-As radiallahu anhu could not hold himself. Remember, he's not a Muslim, he was a mushrik at that time. He said to Musaylama that, "O Musaylama, I take an oath by Allah," because they used to believe in Allah, that I take an oath by Allah that you know that I know that you're a liar. In other words, you can tell by my face that you are a liar. So this is one example. Another example is, Allama ibn Kathir rahimahullah has mentioned in his book of history, one of the most reliable and the most famous book of history. It's a masterpiece, Al-Bidayah wa Nihaya. He mentioned a few incidents that had occurred, how Allah Azza wa Jal humiliated Musaylama. He says that one day, upon an occasion, Musaylama spat in a well, right? And he was telling the people around him that this is how blessed I am. Right now, look at what I do. Look at the miracles that I will show you. So when he spat in the well, the water of the well immediately dried up. His intention was probably that I will tell them that, look, the water is in the well because of me, because of my miracles, because of me making dua to Allah. But the water immediately dried up, and everybody looked. The water had dried up, and he was embarrassed. He also mentions that upon an occasion that he spat in another well, right? And he wanted to, the water of that well was sweet. So he wanted to convince the people that the sweetness of the water is due to his closeness to Allah, because of the fact that he's a prophet and he made dua to Allah. So when the moment he spat into the well, the water immediately became bitter and salty. Again humiliated. So you see how the frustration in his heart is slowly now building up. Another incident mentioned in regards to him, that he watered, when the Prophet ﷺ would make wudu, you see the word wudu, it refers to the action of wudu. The word wudu with the fatha wa, it means the water that you used for wudu. So you will see in the hadith that the wudu of the Prophet ﷺ refers to the leftover water of the Prophet ﷺ that he used when he came to wudu. And the hadith have mentioned that sometimes the Sahaba would even drink that water. So he knew this. And when he made wudu, the leftover water, he's showing it to everyone, that now I will show you all a miracle. And he was very good at getting the message across, and he was very good at tricking people, kind of like magicians who are experts in sleight of hand. So he said that this wudu of mine, the leftover water, I will now bless the tree. So the moment he poured the water on the tree dried up. The leaves started to come off and the tree dried up. Allah Ta'ala again humiliated him. So now the people are saying, well, if you're a prophet, then how come you're unable to show us any miracles? Look at Muhammad, he's showing so many miracles. You don't even come close to him. And then another incident which he has mentioned, that he was brought with 2 boys, and so that he may bless them. Because the prophets were always brought youngsters, and especially freshborn babies, so that he can make dua for them. We all know that from the ahadith. So one of the boys, after he wiped his hand on them, he developed a deficiency in his speech. And the other boy, when he wiped his hand over his head, he became bald, he lost his hair. Now again, he's embarrassed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah in Bidayah wa Nihaya also mentions that a man once went to him and said that I have severe pain in my eyes, and since you are a prophet of Allah, then why don't you make dua to Allah so Allah can take away this pain and this ailment of mine. So Musaylama Kadhab said, come here. And he wiped his hand over his eyes, and the man became blind. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala embarrassed him. Now, another sixth incident which is mentioned in regards to him, along with, of course, many other incidents, that two people said to Musaylama that, listen, Muhammad claims that he gets his messages from beyond the seven heavens, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, tell us some of the messages or the revelations that you have. So he started to think to himself and he said, Ya ضفدع, Ya ضفدع, nisfuki fil ma' wa nisfuki fil tin. Again, that, O frog, half of you is in water, half of you is in the land, in the plain land. So the man wasn't able to hold his laughter, and he started to burst into laughter, and he said, I'm not going to follow you, but I will rather follow Muhammad. He seems to be a true prophet, you are a false prophet. Now, upon an occasion, Musaylam al-Kadhab, when he was announcing this to the people, and I'll end off with this inshallah, that he's a prophet, one person from one of the leaders, he said, O Musaylama, many of us here who have joined your ranks, we know that you are a liar. We know that you're a liar, you're not a prophet. But however, for political reasonings, they also had this ambition for power, and they saw that the Muslims are rising slowly, slowly. However, to us, a liar of Yamama is more beloved than a truthful person of the Arabian Peninsula. So you see, even his own followers, many of them, they had allied with him so that they can go up against the Muslims, because they did not want the Muslims to become one of the superpowers. Because this was the prophecy that was given to the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ had given to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, right? That the wealth of the Romans and the wealth of the Persians will enter into the lands of the Muslims. So many of them, they had this fear in them that if we let these Muslims rise, what will happen to us? What will happen to our kids and our great-grandkids and our grandkids? We are going to end up losing this power and these positions of ours. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq and the ability to differentiate between haqq and batil. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. And inshallah, next week we will continue with a few other incidents in regards to Musaylam al-Kadhab, and then the battle of Yamama. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.